big part of our success in our company. And he wrote a book called Creating, which I think all of us creators can relate to. And even though I'm not a creative person, I am a creator because we create our lives.
Yeah.
And this is Ashley Nell Tipton. Everybody welcome Ashley Nell Tipton. Yay!
This is Andrew, my manager, life coach. I know he didn't really introduce himself, but he's the reason why I'm still here and still creating and still sharing my life. So yeah, thank you. And I appreciate that beautiful intro from you.
Talk a little bit about how you got into Project Runway and how you won Project Runway and what life was like after you won. Yeah.
So I've always been someone who was interested in fashion, especially plus size fashion, being a big girl myself, not being able to have that freedom of walking into a store and being able to find clothing that fits you, your personality, and your body. And so I really made it a mission as a teenager to learn the craft of making clothing and figuring out why isn't the fashion world so not accepting of this plus size community. And so I really made it my mission to kind of change people's ideas and mindsets about plus size fashion in their bodies. So I decided to go to fashion school, and immediately after I finished my program there, I started my own business. I quit all 3 of my jobs to create a clothing line for plus size women. And living in San Diego, there's not much designers. I know that we are building this community of creative people. And at that time, about 10 years ago, there wasn't much designers here. And so I had the choice to either move to LA and internship with someone out there, or really open up my own business and do it on my own and take all the experience that I've learned from school and from working in retail and really put it into my own business. And there was a lot to learn. I don't know anything about business. And it wasn't until I got the opportunity to apply for Project Runway that I felt like I was in this place of my life where I just lost my grandmother, who meant the world to me and who taught me how to sew. And I either had the choice to like sit in that sadness or continue on with my business, or kind of just take a leap of faith of auditioning for a TV show that I really had no confidence in myself ever making it on there. So I basically did my best on this audition, and I told myself, I'm kind of like teary-eyed about it because it brings up so much like passion that and drive that I had at that moment of like, I'm gonna put everything on the line for this audition. I'm gonna be 100% myself. I'm gonna be authentic. And if they don't like it, then I'm not made for this industry or this reality show or whatnot. And making it on the show was just a huge turning point for me. Like, okay, Ashley, you do have what it takes to be here. So you got to let go of all the insecurities about not feeling like you're good enough to be a designer, and kind of prove to everybody why you're here and what gives you this drive to create plus size fashion. And being on that show and just going through all the challenges of trying to love yourself. Like, you are by yourself on a reality TV show. No one's there. You don't know who's your friends. You don't know who you could talk to. You can't call your family. You're secluded for 6 weeks. So you have nothing but to rely on yourself and really talk to yourself and nurture yourself when you're down and when you're gonna have a panic attack. I definitely like learned a lot about myself and how I think and how I move. And how I'm a procrastinator, but I get shit done at the last 5 minutes. um, so it taught me a lot. And coming off of Project Runway, off of this high of like fast and getting things done, and coming back home to now being this celebrity and not knowing how to deal with any of it. That's kind of where Andrew came in and kind of just picked me up, because I had no clue what to do. I think I was still living off of this survivor mode, because I was surviving the whole entire time that I was on Project Runway, and thinking that that's the way I got to continue living life.
And for
So yeah,
me, after she won, I had this idea in my head of, wow, we're going to get together and we're going to create clothing and we're going to make people happy because finally there's these choices they can have. And then when I got together with Ashley, I realized that she was so depressed and there was no joy in the win. And I realized that the work in the next year has got to be working with Ashley and her perception of herself. Because even though she won Project Runway, she didn't feel like she deserved it. And social media and the comments and people's opinions and people saying that she was a token because she was fat.
yeah,
And all of that I wasn't aware of. So I think we've spent the last 3 years really working on how Ashley thinks about herself and how she can teach other people the concepts of acceptance. So the Ashley you see here today is not the Ashley that won Project Runway.
yeah.
This is Ashley that is confident in, this is the Ashley that people perceived her to be.
Yes.
So after 3 years, she's now become the perception of what people saw. And you know,
Because on Project Runway, it's like when you're on TV, when
mhm,
you're in front of people, it's kind of this feeling that comes over me, and I feel the confidence, but immediately when I go behind closed doors, that feeling is gone. So being able to live, eat, and breathe that confidence was what I had to work on every day. And I can say that I have way more confidence in myself than I did before. I feel like I was almost putting this face on for everybody to think that where I was at then, I had so much confidence in myself, but I didn't. It was like, I have to show people that I do. Like, I want them to believe I'm confident in myself, because how are they going to believe in my work? How are they going to believe in what I'm saying? But little did they know, behind closed doors, I'm beating myself up for what I could have done or what I should have done. And it was really hurting me and putting me in this deep depression that no one knew about.
you know, when I think about our topic today, diversion is an instance of turning something aside from its course. Her life in a moment was a diversion because overnight she woke up the next day with a job she didn't really apply for that she now has, and that is to be the spokesperson of a community
Yeah.
when in her own head she didn't accept herself as the spokesperson of a community. And so I think that, you know, part of the diversion that we've gone through as a company is Ashley and her acceptance of that role and her acceptance of her purpose on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, she won Project Runway, and then we signed a contract with J.C. Penney to create the first plus size
Size
collection.
collection.
So talk a little bit about that.
I mean, working for a corporate company like JC Penney's, who's been around for years, was a dream. But also there was so much challenges going into working with a company who's been around for so long, because um, they had their own ideas of how things should go. They already have an idea of who their target customer is. And so for me coming in there, I always would constantly remind myself, why am I here? Why do I have this job to make a difference? And so I really looked at what they had already in their company, what the plus size women wanted, and how could I be that filler to fill in the gaps in between. And I remember introducing a lot of my ideas to the company and them turning it down, and me having to build a case of why a plus size woman would want this item and why it should be made this way. And I really had to educate them on how a plus size body is and how a plus size woman thinks when she goes into the fitting room, when she's shopping in the department store. So it was like a lot of information that I was having to reteach somebody who has been in this community, who wasn't very accepting of the plus size community. So it was just a huge learning experience for me to have to learn not to put my foot down about something that I truly believe in, because if I don't say it now, it's never going to be done. It's like someone once told me, like, you have to speak up even if your voice shakes. Um, and I know a lot of us creatives, we, kind of bite our tongues when we want to say something that we truly are passionate about. And so I think that was a huge learning experience for me, is like speaking up about something that I truly am passionate about in front of 50 board members that I don't even know who they are, but to be able to fight for something that I truly believe in was one.
Yeah, and I think that Ashley is so young, and I was so impressed with her in those boardroom meetings because she didn't have to think about what she was going to say because she was so passionate and had so much knowledge about what she wanted. And I think it took us about 6 months to realize that what J.C. Penney wanted was somebody to rubber stamp on what they thought the collection was going to be and what Ashley wanted the collection to be. And so once we realized that this was going to be much more challenging than what we thought, our approach had to change to more of an education, like you had to educate them on what people would buy rather than them try to rubber stamp what they thought she should create. So that whole experience was a journey in knowledge.
Yeah.
And we're going to leave it at that. Because after that 2 years, we decided not to renew that contract, and Ashley created her own line of clothing.
Yeah.
And that's what we did until March
1st, 5th, whatever.
a year ago. So a year ago, we were watching the Grammys, and Billie Eilish was on the Grammys, and she had on this sexy mask that had like metallic in it.
I think it was like a burnout logo, like a designer logo. I think it was like Louis Vuitton or something. And that's when we started first seeing that face masks were going to be this thing that
was an accessory,
but also we had to look at this COVID was happening at the same time, and we weren't pressed to wear a mask yet. It was by choice. And I really felt like, I think we need to start making face masks. Not only am I seeing it in overseas, but I'm also seeing that hospitals are in need of face mask. And so we kind of just threw ourselves into this face mask industry, feeling that the world needed help. And we felt like we had all this material and this time, and we said, why not? We also had to think back of like, what is our company, and what is it that we do? And we always want to help people and feeling safe. And we thought, why not do face mask and make everyone feel like they are safe, they're helping others. yeah, it was just a really, really weird time, but we were just like, we're ready for it.
An instance of turning something aside from its course. So overnight, we changed the way we thought about our company. And when California shut down that night, you guys, we got 900 orders for masks.
Someone
And
said that they bought the Kamala mask. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We actually have
yeah,
one,
we have
right?
them here. So not only did we get into the mask business, but we had to change in the past year how we thought about the mask business. So I brought a couple examples here for you. So we started with basic masks like this in different colors. And so at the beginning, we were basically just providing masks that were patterns.
That were patterns because at that time, everything was shutting down. So we were very, very limited on our fabric resources. And the main reason why we wanted to make masks is because we wanted people to feel like they could wear a mask that would coordinate with their outfit or would put a smile on someone else's face. Like, yes, we don't want to wear a mask. It's a hassle. Nobody wants to feel that, but why not have some fun to it? And that's why we decided to start creating different prints, and like Frida was one of the biggest top sellers that we had. Being able to represent, your nationality or whatever it is that you want to speak out there, like the Kamala mask that we have, we started getting into politics. And when the elections were happening, we had so many different masks going on. I mean, we even had RBG, that was one of our top sellers. Like, just being able to really sculpt our mask into what is happening in the world at that time.
But here's the other thing is I realized that I am working with a creative person and she's got to find an outlet for her creativity.
Yes.
So if you look at this, Madam Vice President masks, this little diva put a little mini pearls right here so that she can have her pearls on. And then we came out with that in black.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing I think that was valuable to know is that we made the stand that what we were going to create was going to be based on our values. So we're really into
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter, love is love, women are powerful. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. So we really had to take a stand as a company. And when we took that stand, we realized we were going to lose half of our business, but it was more valuable to us to do that.
Yeah, to take a stance on what we believe and to really tell people what we're here for and things like that. And there was some backlash for it, but I think that we didn't really care because
backlash has been our entire existence.
Yes.
I mean, you got to realize Ashley, no matter what she does, people's opinions are just going to be out there. And I think part of the her self-acceptance, the biggest chunk of how Ashley has come to love herself is not caring what other people think.
I think just being able to to understand each word that's in that quote, like not caring what anybody thinks. I think we've all heard that so many times, but it's like really internalizing it and really exercising when we start to care about what other people think about us. We have to practice on like changing that thinking before it actually gets there. Because I've been always brought up, my mother always telling me, you need to make a great impression the first time, you need to do this, you need, what are people going to think when you do that or say that or when you wear that? And I've always thought about what other people thought, and I was always a people pleaser. And when Andrew told me that that was a full-time job, I didn't understand what he was saying. I was like, no, that's not a full-time job. I don't waste my free time thinking about what other people are thinking of me. And then I realized when I started pinpointing those moments and practicing not caring what people think, just taking that question, like, what are people thinking of me, out of my head. So that really, really helped with accepting myself, and not always having a reason why I do certain things. I just do it because I want to.
So that's pretty much like a bird's eye view of our journey. And now we'll turn it over to you.
That is an incredible bird's eye of a journey. And I know before this talk, when I talked to Andrew, we talked about, you know, how you're a fashion designer, but you're really focusing on designing your life and creating your life. Can you speak on that transition? Because that's pretty different for someone to approach their creativity at. Like, how do you design and create your life? Or how did you?
I just really felt like I love designing, I love creating, and there's moments where, as creative people, we get stuck and we get into that self-doubt. And I felt like I needed to take care of myself. I need to figure out what are these things that are holding me back to being creative or allowing people to see what it is that I'm doing. I always felt like what I did wasn't good enough, or what could I do to make it good enough? And so when I started doubting myself and not liking what I was designing or not being passionate about the project that I was working on, I really felt like I really needed to look deep down inside and figure out what was wrong with me and what I needed to do to take care of myself. And so finding this, working on my journey of health and realizing how important health has been for me in my life. And if I want to function and do certain things, I have to take care of myself. I have to nurture my body and my mind. And so for the past, I want to say, couple of years, or last year during this whole pandemic, it made me realize I really need to nurture myself and take care of my body and my mind and who I surround myself with and what relationships I'm in, because I think the things that are surrounding us really plays a part in being creative, and it inspires us. I mean, a lot of doing something or being creative, there's a lot of emotion that we put into it, or we're trying to tell a story, and sometimes we just can't have that clear communication because we're so worried about other things in our head. And I just really wanted to create this space for myself to be able to take care of me. And if that was, you know, going to sleep a little bit early, to wake up early and go on a walk or go to the gym, I wanted to create this life for myself that I've never created, because I never felt like I was valuing myself enough, or I was worth having that time or that money invested into my health. Um, and Andrew has helped me throughout the year to realize that and really think about what it is that I want and how I can put it into my life.
At what point did you say, you know what, Andrew, I don't just want you as a manager, I want you as some sort of life coach. What was that process like?
I don't think we ever had that conversation.
What was that again?
When did you decide that I would be like your mentor or life coach?
No, it was just this instant feeling that I've always had with Andrew, even being a part of Fashion Career College that I went to and him working there, or being an owner of the school. Just being with Andrew and the way that he carried himself was enough for me to know that I wanted to learn from him. The moment that I told him, like, I want to live a life stress-free, anxiety-free.
Anxiety-free, because stress-free is not going to happen.
No, but anxiety and just like and not feeling confident. I mean, I I just think about that conversation we had on the front porch, and me weighing over 400 pounds and me being so unhappy with my life and wanting to change that. And he was like, you can do that. And I think that was a moment where I just knew that I could trust him and allow him to guide me in this direction of wanting a better life.
And it also helped. I think one of the first things we did was spend a week in Vermont with Robert Fritz. So she got to see who taught me.
And can you tell us a little bit about Robert? I'm unfamiliar.
Yeah, Robert created a book a long time ago called The Path of Least Resistance. And now he has a book. Then he created a book called Creating. And it's mostly how to take the creative process and create your life with it. So everything we do when we create art, we create our lives that way. Looking at reality, looking at what you want, looking at the choices you make, looking at mistakes, looking at momentum, all of that is a menu for creating your life, especially the looking at reality.
Thank you, thank you. I've been a fan of the YouTube channel because it's just been so open and vulnerable, just like this conversation. So I really appreciate how much you're putting yourself out there, and you're really giving us so much game that we can apply to our own lives right now. And one thing that really stood out is just the concept of boundaries and kind of setting these non-negotiables. Uh, what
Mhm.
are your non-negotiables in your life? I know on the YouTube you've talked about it within relationships, but if you're open to sharing the non-negotiables or the boundaries, as I like to look at them, that you apply to your life.
I think one of the main ones that came to my head when we were having this conversation is knowing the boundaries of like, I guess me realizing like I have these friends that I've had for a long time, and knowing when they're dumping on me and leaving all this negativity around me, and knowing, is this beneficial for me? Am I just this person who is here for them to dump? I guess old Ashley would be okay with that and wanting to help them. But the new Ashley is kind of like, this doesn't serve me anything. You can, like, I want to help, but it's not my job to help unless you ask for those things. I feel like I'm kind of segueing into a whole different conversation, but those are kind of one of my boundaries, is like knowing how much I can be around certain people, and not feeling bad about it. I don't know.
I think that there's this concept that if you make choices in support of yourself, that you're selfish.
Yes. That's
And
what
I think one of the lessons that Ashley learned is that if you love yourself and people perceive you to be selfish, so be it. A lot of her life was people telling her what to do, when to do, how to do it, and her doing it. And if she didn't do it, she begrudged not doing it. And it's interesting to see now, because anytime her mother is still in our presence, it's like she can push that button like that. This week, she was here and she pushed that button over and over again.
Yeah.
I like your hair color, but I don't like the cut. Is that what she said?
Yeah. Or like, why didn't you style it? Why didn't you put any makeup on? Like, I realized that everything she's saying is that internalizing voice that I had in my head. So it's like, I have to turn it off. And whatever she says is going through one ear and out the other. Because I realized that at the end of the day, it's benefiting her to say these things, but it's not benefiting me to internalize them. So I just like leave them as is, and I really don't take it personal anymore.
And you also, she's also become good at limiting the quantity of time in that space.
It hurts me to say that, but it honestly has really showed me that I have to just be really with my time and how much I see my family. And yes, I love my family and they're my family, but I can also create my family somewhere else. And that could be friends and things like that. So it's just been a huge learning experience for myself and loving myself and boundaries. But I can say that life has just been so much more easier and a little bit more calm, like with learning how to rethink things. Um, because I know I can sit in doubting myself and telling myself how I could have redid something differently.
So what we're gonna do now is open up the chat for people to ask any type of questions. So please feel free to ask any questions within the chat, and I'm just gonna kick it off really quick with just some more questions, because I appreciate your time with this as well, and I'm learning in this process, especially in the idea of when you actually need to center yourself. There's some parts where it's bad to center yourself, but you're jumping into this saying center yourself. And when I read the shirt, I see love you, like that
You,
process, yourself, loving yourself. And so my question before I get into the questions in the chat is, I guess, how can you explain that connection of, or does loving yourself help you create uh, better as a designer, or just does it help the path of creating? Because sometimes you might make something that's not even for other people.
yeah, I think loving myself gave me the clearance to be okay with creating outside of clothing. Being okay to create face masks, being okay to create a love you show, being okay to start new creative adventures. I feel like very early on, I was told by someone like that I need to find different creative outlets that are going to inspire the main outlet I love. And a couple of weeks ago, I told Andrew that I wanted to get into tufting, which is rug making. And he looked at me like, what? And I was like, yes, please, can we do this? I think this would be a fun business to go into. And I think if I would have said that a few years ago to myself, I would have been like, no, stay focused on this clothing. Like, you can only do one thing. You can't adventure out to multiple things, or you're just going to be quitting on that one thing. So I think being gentle to myself as a creative person and understanding that I love being creative in any aspect, if it's painting, if it's gardening, my house is a jungle and I feel like I've created that beautiful jungle, and to be able to take care of it, it's really showed me this other side of being patient and nurturing to something.
And
Thank
you'll
you.
be able to pre-order that rug soon.
Yes.
Yeah, I want a rug in every one of my rooms.
Right?
I love you rug.
I love you, rug. That's what we're first starting off with.
So our first question is from Kristen. Did you have to deal with any backlash in the plus size community when you
Huh.
started your health journey? How did you deal with that?
That was one of the hardest things that I had to go through for myself. Like, everything that Andrew was just teaching me about, I literally had to practice it, and I had to put it towards that, because when I announced that I wanted, or not that I wanted, that I did have weight loss surgery to the plus size community, it was like a double-edged sword. I was doing something for myself because I wanted to better myself, better my health. I wanted to be here as a creative person and not live in this depression. And people were backlashing me for wanting better for myself. They thought that I was doing this because I didn't love myself enough, or that the fame had got to me and I wanted to be this cookie cutter image that celebrities are known for being. And that's not what it was. Is I had to tell people that I could no longer live in the shoes that I was in at that moment, because I felt like I couldn't be the best person that I wanted to be. And I worked so hard to try to make people understand that I had to realize that I can't change people's minds, that they're just gonna have to realize this on their own whenever they're open to it. But there was a time where I just felt like everyone hated me from the plus size community, and anything that I did, they weren't going to believe in me because they felt like they lost their hero. They felt like they lost that person who was an advocate, who was fighting for them in the plus size industry. But I didn't go anywhere. I just wanted better health for myself and to get a grip on life and to be happy and to be able to walk up a flight of stairs and not be out of breath. I had all these little goals that didn't mean anything to other people, but meant so much to me that I had to like throw everyone's opinion and what everyone was thinking out the door because they weren't in my shoes. They weren't living my life. I wanted to be happy and I wanted to keep doing what I love.
I think the most surprising aspect of that decision was the contracts that we lost.
Yeah, the work
that we lost.
Who would have ever thought of me losing weight or just choosing health would be the consequences of losing so many contracts or losing work in this fashion industry because I was changing my appearance. So it really just opened my eyes to see how people just wanted to use my fatness or use my image to attract people in and weren't really hiring me for my work or my creativity. It was my image. It was the pink hair. It was the poofy skirts. It was this look that I was giving off. And it just made me realize that I needed to value myself so much more and that I had so much more to say to people than what they had seen on Project Runaway.
So our next question, and incredible that you're sharing this, like it's extremely insightful. When working with JCPenney's, how did you overcome being difficult when educating? Brooke is saying this question, and she finds it hard that as a woman in those roles, explaining and challenging.
Let's see. Just seeing the people who were in this board meeting and seeing that nobody looked like me just let me know that I had to educate these people who were creating for me, for people like me. And I'm like, you don't know what it feels like to be in a plus size body. You don't know how it feels to shop in a store. You don't know how it feels to go into a fitting room and feel like you're not good enough because these clothing doesn't fit you. And you're trying to create clothing for all these types of bodies, but it's like, I'm your body. I'm telling you what it is that we want. I don't know how much clearer I can get. I mean, we were going back and forth about a pair of biker shorts in the board meeting. And they were telling me how plus size women were not going to wear biker shorts. And I said, we need it for fashion and also for comfort. Do you have fat thighs? Do your thighs shave when you wear a skirt or a dress? No. So I wanted to create shorts that were also going to be comfortable for us and that were going to be fashionable, and they just could not understand that concept.
I think the biker shorts pretty much summarizes our whole experience with JCPenney's, because their response to Ashley wanting to create biker shorts was fat people don't bike.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought this journey is going to be challenging.
Fat people don't bike. I love
Yeah, like that's what the biker shorts were for. They didn't get that the biker shorts were for other reasons.
Yeah, and I mean, they could be for biking.
Yes.
But that's not for us to judge what they're going to do with it. I just think the more access we have to different things, the better.
And when we came out with our line, we had biker shorts and they sold out.
Yes, immediately.
Yeah. We couldn't keep them in stock.
Hey, put them back on the website so we can get those sold out.
Yes.
So you've gone through this journey, and from Project Runway to, I mean, before Project Runway, and you're here now. You've done a lot of pivots. What's one thing that you would tell the Project Runway Ashley before the journey?
This is only the beginning. Because I think Project Runway literally like prepared me for everything else that I'm going through or we're going through as a business. I mean, being on Project Runway, we all know it's like a challenge. It's a challenge show for fashion designers. And you're constantly put through all these challenges with limited supplies. So you make what you can out of those supplies without losing who you are as a person. So Project Runway just prepared me for everything that was going to happen to me in life as a business owner, and how to continue to pivot and not lose who you are, lose why you're doing this, what gives you this drive. Just recently, a few months ago, I felt like I was on the show again because I was creating a dress within 72 hours for Sarah Jacobs. And at the last minute, she tells me that she has to wear a bulletproof vest underneath her inauguration dress for the president's inauguration. And that literally scared me. And I was like, this is a challenge within itself. I have to create a dress and a coat for someone who has to think about wearing a bulletproof vest and how to cover it and how to still make her feel comfortable and beautiful, but also be protected. It was just so crazy that I started crying, and I felt like I was on the show again. And I was like, the show has prepared me for this. Like, you just got to think outside of the box and be creative with this. And yeah.
I see so much strength in your vulnerability and just attacking these things in a very personal way. The fact that you're still here, you're still saying to yourself, I'm going to be challenged, but I'm going to continue to show up. That's really giving myself, and I feel like the people that are here, that strength in themselves to say that they're going to show up, not just now, but in the future. And so we have our final question from Jill. What do you see for plus size fashion in the next 5 to 10 years?
I mean, in the past 6 years, this plus size industry has changed tremendously. But I think I hope what happens is more and more companies are understanding that just being size inclusive is not enough. Size inclusive, just having a double XL is not enough. I think really diving in and owning that you are doing plus size. For instance, like H&M and all these like designer companies who are really trying to be size inclusive. I just really hope in the next 10 years that they really invest that money in being plus size and not just extending 2 sizes. We're not just up to a size 18. You know, we go all the way to a size 30 in the plus size community. And I want to see more companies be more of a plus size than just exclusive sizes or extended sizes, things like that, really changing the conversation and the wording and how we're doing this. Because in the design world, it's really technical, and you can't just think that you're being a plus size company by giving us 2 extra sizes in the plus range. So in the next 5 years, I really hope that companies who are willing to invest the money, that they really make this a plus size line and not just an extended line. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, that does make a lot of sense. That really does. And yeah, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love. People really appreciate you both. And so,
Thank you.
are there any last things that you want to share with the audience, or any type of events that you have going on that are coming up?
If anyone is interested in learning more about self-love, self-acceptance, self-care, please watch our YouTube show. You can find it underneath Ashley Nell Tipton, and it's the Love You Show. And every Friday we post new videos, and we're teaching you how to think and love yourself. And I should, what is it? I share with you my experiences of these challenges I go through and how I'm practicing this self-acceptance. Because it's not overnight. It's something that we're constantly practicing, and I don't think we'll ever be fully there because there's so many things that can set us back, but it's being able to have that habit of being able to get us back where we need to be. Thank you for linking that in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I'm just going to kind of summarize everything up, because first off, I love you. I love both of you, especially for what you're giving to everybody that's here. These are such essential tools. And there's such a psychology and psychosis behind how humans act. What you said that really stood out to me is that it took you 3 years to match the person that you were presenting on Project Runway. And boy, does that relate to myself, even the person that I present to the world versus who I am when the doors close. So what I want to present, or the mask that I wear when I go into these different locations versus the actual person that I am. And there's some sort of miracle that happens when they're a lot closer together. And there's this creative artistic journey where we want to say, where can my expression actually match my internal location at the same time? Mm-hmm. And that's always been a creative path and journey and purpose for my creating. And I love that you're reminding everybody that here about that. It's not just about presenting these things that are better than who we are internally. It's about trying to match that internal conversation that we have. And I love you so much for giving that narrative and that dialogue to us, and that allows me to walk into my Friday and my weekend with some like a phenomenal sword. I feel like I have weapons I can use to fight my own self and other people in a certain spiritual and emotional way. So I appreciate everybody that's here this morning. I want to wish you a happy Black History Month, happy Black everything. And please follow Ashley and Andrew, check out their YouTube page, and check in with yourself, check in with your friends, know your boundaries, and love you. Hope you have a great Friday. See you. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.